What is up, Rotogrinders? I am your host, TJ Zwarych. We are here for another episode, special edition of the FanDuel Friday Strategy Show. I'm freshly married. I'm headed to a comic expo today. Life is good, and it's especially good because I am joined by my colleague and friend, Drizzy26. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, TJ. Just a little under the weather a little bit here, but nonetheless, ready to talk about the FanDuel Friday slate and hopefully get people something to take down today.
Heck yes, and these are some of my favorite shows to do because FanDuel's where I play, and it's a nice morning show. It's kind of a first look. We look at the slate as a whole, we break it down, we give people an insight into our process. And so I think let's start getting into it because we got a huge slate today. I'm counting as we go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Is it 14 game slate? I believe we got today. Heck, maybe it's 15. It's crazy. We got almost all the teams on the board. So we're going to have lots and lots of different options that we can go to today. And so let's start with pitching because we got an ace up top today who looks like the top guy on the board, and then some options if we want to get a little bit cheaper. But Shane McClanahan looks like he is going to be the chalkiest pitcher, but he's also the highest projected pitcher on the slate today. So how do you feel about pitching, and what are you going to do with Shane McClanahan?
Pitching to me is kind of like almost in a way straightforward. I do like Shane McClanahan a lot, so I would probably be trying to get to as much as I possibly can. But then I also like a guy like Blake Snell, who comes in at 10-5 today, going against Washington as well. So I don't mind getting those two options today for sure. And then maybe dabbling in a little bit, a little bit of Kevin Gausman going against New York, just because New York has struggled lately. So I think it has been striking out a lot. So I think taking some shots on Kevin Gausman is worth it in tournaments to me. That's pretty much how I look at it today. I don't think I'll be playing anyone else. Maybe against a Brady Singer a little bit, but I'm going to stick with Shane McClanahan and Blake Snell for me. I would normally try to take a guy like Kyle Wright or Chris Bassett, but the way the matchups are set up today, or Aaron, these guys are in spots against teams that I don't want to take a risk of getting blown up today. Besides Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I think it's going to be a pretty tight pool of pitching for me, even though we have such a big slate. I think I'm going to roll one lineup tonight because I'm going to be on the road. I'm heading on a road trip, heading out of town. But even if I were running 150, I think I'd be keeping it pretty tight. We have a group of guys like Aaron Nola, Chris Bassett, Tyler Anderson, Miles Michaelis, Kevin Gausman, Tristan Mckenzie, Patrick Sandoval that are all kind of in the same bunch for projections. But we got Shane McClanahan quite a bit higher, Blake Snell point per dollar wise quite a bit higher. And so if I were to fade one of the two, I'd feel more comfortable fading Snell, I think. But we're also going to see quite a bit more ownership going to McClanahan. So McClanahan, Snell are definitely my top two. I would mix in a little bit of Nola and Bassett just for their upsides. I think guys like Tyler Anderson, Kevin Gausman, I would probably Tyler Anderson, Miles Michaelis, I'd probably shy away from. And I would sprinkle a small amount of Gausman, Sandoval. Springer is projecting really well, so I think you'd have to get him into some lineups. And the last guy I'm interested in for tournaments would be Tristan Mckenzie. This is a guy that he has downside, but we've also seen him just put up a lot of upside in games as well. He throws a ton of fastballs. He's a good strikeout guy, facing a primarily right-handed lineup today against the Chicago White Sox. It's a good lineup, but it's also a primarily right-handed lineup. And even though McKenzie's been a little reverse splitsy with his strikeouts this year, I think he still has a little upside, but that's still somebody that I'm not going to look to unless I'm MMEing. It's really going to be a Shane McClanahan, Blake Snell, Brady Singer day if I'm playing one or three lineups, and I think I'm going to look to differentiate with my bats.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you with the McKenzie call for sure. I think that is a really, really, really great call. The strikeout upside that he has is high, and the Chicago White Sox can definitely strike out a lot too, or a decent amount. So I don't mind that at all. Say for sure.
All right, and we're gonna switch it up to some bats today, and the Spidey Bomb Dre is hot. We're 3 days in a row. We had Vlad last night. We had Nate Lowe the day before. We had Jose Miranda the day before that. We're hot. We're 3 days in a row. So make sure you hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. It's free content courtesy our sponsor, FanDuel, and we'll give you some home run calls at the end of this as well. Dre, on a slate this big, we got every team on the board out here today. Do we want to be full stack in this, or are you looking to pick off some one-offs today?
Me personally, I'm a full sack guy on slates like this because it's too big. To me, I think that there's going to be a team that just stands out above the rest. So you got to have the full stack of them, and also with this secondary stack to go off and win it all tonight, in my opinion. And just hopefully that's it's low old enough because you got to let guys in the lineup. So it's definitely a full stack to me. Like teams like Boston, Baltimore, teams I want to target for sure. Obviously the Yankees as well, and Toronto on the opposite end. And some teams I want to look at as well. But it's still going to be hard for me to not get there. And obviously we got a Coors game on the slate with San Francisco being there as well, which will be, I'm sure, popular. But I definitely will try to take some shots on definitely full stacking because there's a lot of good teams that where you don't have to worry about ownership tonight as well.
Yeah, and I mean, Coors Field is really the talking point of the slate today because facing a terrible pitcher against Jose Urena in Coors Field, they're going to be chalky. They deserve to be chalky. It's a huge slate, but we have three teams with totals over 5. That's it. The Dodgers are at 505. The Padres are at 506. And that's really just because those teams are really good, not because they're in that strong of matchups. Then you look at this Coors Field game, and we have San Francisco Giants with a total over 6. So they are a full point ahead of anybody else on the slate, as well as nobody else on the slate is over 5 other than the Dodgers and the Padres. So they're going to be chalky, but deservedly so. I think a lot of people are going to be rolling with the lefties on this team alongside Shane McClanahan because they aren't that expensive. You can do it. If that's our optimal, what are you going to look to get different today? Are you okay with a full stack of San Fran and Tampa Bay if you're just going to find a way to get different somewhere else?
No, I'm not. Honestly, I probably will play San Francisco a lot.
Oh, sorry, not Tampa Bay. I meant with McClanahan.
Oh yeah, no. I personally am not going to do that. Like I like McClanahan a lot. I'm trying to figure out a way to get McClanahan with some of these Boston bats, some of these Baltimore bats, these Yankee bats. That's what my strategy would be. And me, a guy like me, I don't mind playing the back half of lineups. So since I don't mind playing the back half of lineups, I think that gives me an advantage and an edge. Like we got San Diego as well at a 5 total, and the Dodgers, who have been red hot lately. I know they lost a couple games to Milwaukee, but I think that those teams are still have obviously a tremendous amount of upside and can win you a tournament today. And like I said, choosing to go with the back half in some of these lineups can give you an edge for a lot of things. And like I said, with this thing being so big, ownership is going to be so spread out because there's so many teams that have that upside today on this slate. So I don't mind just trying to use that strategy to win a tournament today.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, for me personally, I still think I'm going to be playing this Coors Field game just because the projections we have in the back, the total is just so much higher than any other team in the slate. So I'm kind of hoping that the ownership won't be too concentrated. And I just do think that these San Fran bats are in so much of a better spot than any other team on the slate today. Some of the other stacks I like as well. I like St. Louis. I like the Padres. I like Colorado. I like the Dodgers. I like Boston and Baltimore. Those would be my top stacks on the slate. But it really just, we don't have that many teams in a strong spot today. Like, I don't really view a single team as maybe better than a 5% chance of being the top stack, aside from the Giants, who I think probably have a 15 to 20% chance. So even though they're not necessarily a lock and load for sure are going to break the slate, they still just have so much more upside than any other team outside of the Padres and the Dodgers, I think, today. So I'm going to be playing the Giants, and I think I'm going to be trying to find a different way to stack my secondary stack to try and get a little different than the field. And the back half of that Dodgers lineup, I think, is going to be the way I want to do it. They're facing a lefty today. Jesus Luzardo is a talented pitcher, but he's young. He's just coming back from injury. He's always struggled against right-handed bats. So some guys like Justin Turner, Trace Thompson in the back of the lineup, I like quite a bit. And then the other team, obviously, you want to go to is the Padres. If you're paying up for McClanahan, it's going to be tough to get your Sotos and Bells. But when they're facing a pitcher as terrible as Paolo Espino, maybe the worst pitcher on the slate today, against maybe the best offense on the slate today, they are definitely tempting. You have guys like Profar, Grisham, Bell, Cronenworth, Kim, solid hitters who are not that expensive. So this is going to be a team I'm going to want to go to as well. It might be tough to get Soto, Machado, Drury, but the cheaper options are guys that I definitely don't mind going with over there. The last team I kind of want to go pretty in depth in is going to be St. Louis, because I do think St. Louis is in a pretty good spot as well. I like the Baltimore and the Boston calls in tournaments. But I think St. Louis is probably the second best team on the board today for tournaments. And they're facing a young left-handed pitcher who, in a very limited sample size this year, he's got a 7 xFIP and a 12% K rate. Just horrific. And he's facing a team that just absolutely dominates left-handed bats. Dylan Carlson, Tyler O'Neill, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Albert Pujols, Tommy Edman, Paul DeJong. I'm super comfortable playing any one of those guys. The most likely I would leave out of my stack would be Tommy Edman, but DeJong, I think, is an interesting salary saver. Albert Pujols is, I think, an interesting salary saver. Pujols is hitting. He has a 338 ISO against lefties this year.
He's been hitting the ball crazy. He's been hitting the ball wild lately.
Even if you want to bump it back to last year as well, so he's got 250 plate appearances, he still has a 300 ISO against left-handed pitching. Nolan Arenado, 361 in the last 2 years. Paul Goldschmidt's 363. Tyler O'Neill, 254. And then you look at it this season, both Arenado and Goldschmidt have over 400 ISOs against left-handed pitching. Arenado striking out 8% of the time. Goldschmidt, 18. Arenado 14. Like, this is a team that has a lot of upside today. They could easily have a stretch where O'Neill, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Pujols go back to back to back to back jacks. So they're the St. Louis Cardinals are a team right alongside the Dodgers and the Padres to me for my tier 2 teams.
Oh, yeah, that's a very sneaky stack today too. I don't think Noah will be on that stack a lot, so I like the call of the St. Louis today a lot. I definitely like that. I definitely also like you said when you mentioned the Padres. I want to go back to that one. What I would try to do is at least get one of these high bats, one of these expensive bats in the lineup with the back half of the lineup. So if you want to do something like, like Bell or Soto, with like Profar, just to have like some guys up top, a 1-2 combination, and then go with the back half like Grisham or Alfaro. I think that's perfectly fine as well. So I would mix and match with Kim, Cronenworth. Those are guys that I want to wouldn't mind playing as well, because I think the whole lineup has definitely a chance to go off, especially against Espino. I wouldn't get rid of no one here in that spot. And like you mentioned with the Dodgers before too, the Dodgers as a whole, It's just probably some of the most talented guys hitting guys at a baseball total as a whole. And the hitting that they have, like you said, Trace Thompson, I like him a lot today as a back end guy to go with. So obviously, you guys had Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Will Smith, Freeman. Those are the guys you want to go with too as well. But definitely like I said, Chris Taylor as well in the back half of this is some guys I don't mind taking shots on.
Yeah, and before we get out of here, just like covering ownership quick, like for bats, you don't have to worry about ownership today if you're not playing San Francisco. San Francisco will be the only chalky team on the slate. There's going to be a couple teams like somebody like Cincinnati. They might be a little over-owned than they should be just because they're really cheap and people might need them to fit them in there, or they're in a okay spot, but nothing special. But you're still not having to worry about aggressive ownership. Maybe they'll be a little over-owned for their tops for like how well they're projected, but that still means they're going to be 5 to 10% owned per player. So you don't have to worry about that unless you're playing San Francisco. It's a day to full stack. Don't be afraid to use the back half of the lineup. Dre, before we get out of here, let's get some home run calls. I'm thinking maybe we could each give one in the high price tier, the mid tier, as well as a cheap option today.
Okay.
I got mine locked and loaded if you want me to go first.
Is Mike Trout actually really coming back today?
He might be. They said he might be.
Ooh. If he's back, I'm going to go with him as my high tier.
I like it. For me in the high tier today, I'm going to roll Rafael Devers.
Okay. I like that one too.
Mid tier, I'm going to take my guys so you don't steal them, and I'm going with Tyler O'Neill is hitting a bomb today.
Tyler O'Neill? Hold on. Sorry. I'm going to go with mid. There's so many options that I could go with that I like. I'm going to go with I'm gonna go with someone outside of course. I'm gonna go with matter of fact Anthony Santander.
I like it. Strong player. They were commenting on I can't remember if it was Crunch Time or Grinders Live the other day that I'm one of the few people who said Santander's name right, and you nailed it too. So kudos. We got the name right, so he's gonna hit a home run today. And my cheap one today, we both talked about him. We both like stacking the back half of the lineup. Trace Thompson's going to hit a dinger today.
I love it. I'm going to go right back to the well. Mention the guy that you mentioned, the guy that's been hot lately. It's Albert Pujols at 2-4 today.
Yes, I love that call as well. So that'll be it for the FanDuel Strategy Show today. If you want to get a position-by-position breakdown, make sure you tune in to Grinders Live as well as Crunch Time, both free, sponsored by FanDuel. Later today, we have coming up on Grinders Live. Dre, you're going to be back on with Kirkwood and Dean. And then for Crunch Time today, we got Cheese, we got Keith, Tasteful Tides, and we got Roth breaking down the weather as we have one game, I believe that Texas-Minnesota game, that we're going to potentially have to worry about weather in. Hit the like button on the way out. That'll do it for this edition of FanDuel Friday. See you later, guys. Peace.